Thanks for tuning in, and you're listening to The Entrepreneur Show. My name's Kizin Kwacha, and The Entrepreneur Show is noted to be one of the largest and most influential radio shows for entrepreneurs in the world. And not just the world, probably the Milky Way, or maybe the galaxy. Corina, is the universe bigger than the galaxy, or is it the other way around?
The universe, I would say.
Okay. So we're bigger in the. Oh, do you know what? I've forgotten it. So we're big. We are huge. And I tell you what, our next guest has a reputation to rival the Entrepreneur Show. Corina Lorenzi. She is the founder, and she's the brains, the powerhouse behind Elite Success Strategies, a coaching business based in Melbourne, Australia. Now, she's been also recognized by the International Coach Federation, and she's also a certified NLP practitioner. Corina, it's fantastic to have you here.
Thank you, Kizzy.
That's very, very subdued and respectable. Thank you, Kizzy. Are you nervous because you're talking to me?
Absolutely. Who wouldn't be?
Exactly. You know, even when I talk to myself, I'm nervous. I call myself sir, which is really, really weird. But you know, let's not talk about that. How are you, Corina? You're in Melbourne now, aren't you?
Yes, I am, and we're enjoying a wonderful spring here.
God, it's ridiculous because we're in France, and as you know, the seasons are reversed, so we are now just approaching winter in France. And I've got to tell you, it is very, very cold here.
We're expecting 32 degrees tomorrow.
You're just saying that to make me jealous, aren't you?
Absolutely.
God, why didn't we buy a place in Australia and we could have lived in the sunshine? But then you have your winter when everybody else in Europe has their summer, right?
That's right.
It's all very confusing. And it says here on my notes that you used to live in Germany as well. What were you doing in Germany?
That's right. I came to Australia about 10 years ago with my husband, who is originally from here, from Australia, from Melbourne. So, yes, we just packed everything and we came here to live with his family.
And what was the idea behind Elite Success Strategies? Why did you start this consultancy?
I will tell you the long story, the long answer, basically. So what happened? At that point in time, I was 12 years on in my successful career in foreign trade. And I remember sitting in my office and looking around myself and seeing all these people, and I thought, how is it possible that they don't see it? How is it possible that they can make all these mistakes one after the other? And being stuck in the strategies, the way we call it in coaching and in NLP, seeing that they don't actually get the results that they want, whether it's business results, figures and outcomes, or relationships. So, and when I say relationships, I mean stakeholders, people you engage with on a daily basis, whether your peers, your colleagues, your managers, your external stakeholders. And at that time, I was seeking for something else, something bigger than me, something where I can make a true contribution to, make a difference, basically. And this is when I found coaching, and I never looked back since then. I feel such a fulfilled life now. And when I say life, it's not only private life, business or career. It's a big part of our lives. Perhaps if you count the hours you spend working, it's even more than the private life. So yes, I'm very fulfilled by what I'm doing, and I'm really, really happy to have taken this step to.
And who are your clients? Who are Elite Success Strategies clients? Are they mainly one-man bands, or are you looking at the more corporate end of the marketplace?
It is a bit of a mix. My ideal client and the clients that I work with are people, whether they are aspiring leaders or established leaders. They are people who want more, who are striving to become a so-called a better version of themselves, who want to excel, to want to be successful, to take the next step on their career ladder.
And do you find that that your clients seem to have very similar type of problems, or are they all pretty unique depending on who the client is?
Yeah, this is a good question, because in coaching we call it surface level problem, which is the perceived problem. But in order to solve that problem, you need to go to the core, to the source of the problem. And this is where the pattern sits. So if you look at the surface, people may have totally different issues. However, the core issues are just a handful of behavioral patterns, which once identified is very easy to create and facilitate a shift for the client.
Well, I guess the main challenge is to identify those problems at the core before you can diagnose a possible solution.
Yes, absolutely. It's not a real challenge for a good coach, but yeah, this is the key basically to helping the clients to achieve the outcomes that they are looking for.
Well, what I wanted to ask you just after that question was to just go back a little bit to the earlier years of when you decided to found Elite Success Strategies. What were the challenges you faced when you decided, you made this commitment to go it alone, start your own consultancy and become your own boss? What were the challenges you faced?
This is a very good question. The challenges were more within myself. There are two different types of challenges: external challenges or perceived external challenges and internal challenges. I think the greater challenges are internal, because once you create a problem in your head, it's harder to solve that problem with the same mind that created it. Does it make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So really, you had to make some changes in the way you were thinking.
Absolutely. The challenge is to make the shift from, let's call it, employee mindset, where you work within an organization with an established system and structure, to a space where you start to create that structure and that system from the base. And of course, it comes with the freedom that you can create it the way you want it, but also with a challenge that every day basically you do something that you haven't done before. You do something new. So every day you need to step outside of your comfort zone.
I guess a lot of our listeners will understand this, because we're all entrepreneurs. We're all trying to make a difference in the world. But I guess the big challenge for all of us is to challenge ourselves and to get outside of our comfort zones and do something that we may well be nervous about taking on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't imagine you being a nervous type. I can't imagine you backing away from any challenges at all.
Yes. See, no matter how confident a person seems, everyone has their own insecurities. There are three types of fears, so-called universal fears, because everyone has these three fears within themselves to a smaller or larger extent. So they are the biggest one is fear of failure, and this is what prevents people to step outside their comfort zone. Fear of not belonging and fear of not being loved. But the main one is really, and for me, and I guess for a lot of people, is fear of failure, and this is what prevents people of taking that step towards their dream.
It's funny you should say that the three fears, the fear of failure, not belonging, and not being loved. I'm just wondering, for people who make that decision, to become entrepreneurs, they'll often say to themselves, the reason I'm doing it is because I'm not afraid to fail. But I wonder whether people back away from becoming entrepreneurs because they don't trust themselves, because they don't think they can handle whatever life throws at them once they become responsible for their own fate.
Yeah, absolutely. And whether when in some people this fear is really strong, and even if it's just something like leaving your job for a new job, fear of failure could play a huge role. Although some people are really not satisfied with their job, with their working environment, they don't take this step because of fear of failure. I have seen it times and times again.
It's weird, isn't it? And I'm thinking to myself, when I used to be an editor for other people's magazines, and the one thing that I kept thinking to myself is that I don't have responsibility for my own future. These people could turn around at any time and say, you're redundant, or we're making some changes, and it's out of my control. So that to me, living with that fear, I think, is far greater than living with the fear of running your own show.
Absolutely. However, some people who I mentioned before, they perceive a job as safe, although nothing is safe, nothing is secure, nothing is certain in this world if you take it literally. However, just by having, going to the same office every day and knowing that every month there's a paycheck coming in, gives people some sort of perceived security.
I feel like a psychiatrist asking this question, but it's something that I've been dying to ask you since we started talking, because you do seem incredibly motivated and self-reliant. What motivates you when you have those days when you think, oh, nothing's going right and everything sucks, I've had enough of this? What keeps you motivated?
To be honest, what keeps me motivated is something intrinsic. Is if I don't succeed, I lose respect for myself, and that's the most powerful thing, for myself, for my own motivation. There is no other way for me than succeed. Does it make sense?
Absolutely.
If I don't progress, if I don't achieve something, whatever achievement is for me in that particular moment in time, is I'm very frustrated with myself. Perhaps no one else, like a third party, would understand this, but it's myself.
So do you think you might do something and that you could have done better, you could have achieved something greater than you did, but people around you would say, that was amazing, well done, you've done a great job, but you yourself aren't satisfied?
That's right.
So are you tough on yourself, do you think? Are you very demanding?
Yes, I'm very tough on myself and very demanding. I always have been this way. It has positives and negatives, of course, but it works. So, yeah.
What's the idea of the constant and never-ending improvement? I've heard this mentioned a few times whenever we've talked about you in the past, and the constant and never-ending improvement. What's that all about?
Is basically never rest on your laurels, if existent at all. Is always have this attitude of what can I do better? Never fall into some sort of routine. Always question the routine, saying, okay, this is the system that I use, this is what I do, but don't do it automatically just because I have done it yesterday. Do it in a way and look at it in a way, how can I actually do it better? I constantly improve my programs. I constantly improve the way I work with my clients. With every time, let's say, if I do profiling work with someone, it's actually a very good example. One of my clients, I have done some profiling work with him and his immediate team, and later on perhaps 6 to 8 months later on, he asked me to do some profiling on his new employees, and I have done this. And of course, by then I have improved that process and said, wait a moment, this looks different. And I said, yes, I have improved it.
So you applied this philosophy to yourself as well?
Yes, absolutely, to myself.
Well, I've got to tell you, I feel inspired and motivated, and I wish I'd done this interview better. I wish I'd asked you more insightful and thought-provoking. Oh God, I suck. I'm gonna go and watch Star Trek now, and I'm just gonna.
Kizzy, don't be so tough on yourself. You're doing great.
No, do you mean that really? You really? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna maybe ask you to like say that 50 or 60 times so I can record it. So when I have those moments where I think, God, Kizzy, you suck, I can play your voice. That's depressing, isn't it?
I can call you every morning if you like. I can call you and tell you, good morning, Kizzy. This is Corina, and you're doing great.
Okay, you're on. Absolutely. That's a fantastic idea. My producer is saying he's written a message. It says, wife is listening. Okay. Maybe that's a terrible idea. I hate it. No. Call me tomorrow at 4:00. Sorry. Come in. Okay. Look, one last thing before. I know how busy you are. I know that we've got you for just a few more minutes, but one question I do want to ask is that as you've been exposed to so many businesses and so many problems, give us some advice. Imagine you've got a client in front of you and they want you to give them maybe, let's say, 3 pieces of advice that will really help them improve their performance and get their businesses working in the way they'd like it to. What 3 pieces of advice would you give to a struggling or new business owner?
That's a hard one because usually advice is given specifically to the issues that a specific person has. However, one piece of advice that I can give is always challenge yourself. This is number 1. Number 2 is don't give up and always improve.
Fantastic. That's exactly what we need to hear. If you can bear this in mind as a listener, that if you always challenge yourself, if you never give up, and you always ask yourself to improve, things can only get better.
Absolutely.
Corina, it's been one of the most inspiring interviews that we've done in a long time, and I've got to say, I feel like a new man now after talking to you. Thank you so much for talking to us, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Entrepreneur Show.
Kizzy, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.